This is Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News, and I'm back with Tommy Sheahan, who's the CEO and founder of Red Oxygen. Tommy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we're now on the third and final part of our three-part series on texting and regulation, what everyone needs to know now. In this part, we're going to be talking about the public-facing portion of this issue, specifically how this can even have become a national security risk, how it's becoming a problem for different businesses, and maybe how we can convince policymakers and others to maybe change policy and also programming. So, Tommy, before we before we get into that, what is Red Oxygen?
We are the world's first application-to-person messaging. We provide billing, compliance, and delivery of text messages from our off-the-shelf components for Outlook, Gmail, Excel, or integrating to your ISV platform and provide the same billing, compliance, and delivery for you.
So break this down for me, Tommy. How did something like texting and SMS become maybe even a national security risk? How did we get there?
Well, in the United States, we have set up the campaign registry, it was started by the carriers. It was owned by Calera, which was owned by the Italians. They just recently sold it to Tata, which is basically controlling the flow of text messaging. So in this vetting process, so anybody sending an application to person messaging, you have to be vetted, you're approved, and you have to pay monthly campaign fees and per message fees. Unfortunately, this is not FCC. This is the campaign registry, which is owned by Tata. So do we want a foreign entity controlling the data flow of our most ubiquitous communications channel?
I have a feeling the answer is no.
Yeah, I mean, and we really need to lobby to get the FCC to step up. One is we've got very inconsistent policy. We have T-Mobile charging $50 for registration. They also want to charge you $250 you don't use their network. The other carriers don't. There's no consistency among the carriers. The carriers also have different threshold limits per day per text and what they allow, what they don't allow. We need some better consistency. The intent of the campaign registry is good. I'm not saying it's bad. We need to stop spam. We need to be held accountable for the person sending the message and the platform delivering the message. So I'm all for that. But we need some consistency, and we need to make sure that the person doing this regulation is in our best interest. And I think the FCC is our best opportunity to do that.
So what is to be done? What in your opinion can be done by, our listeners who are enterprises, MSPs, carriers? What can everybody do?
Well, in the meantime, we're happy to help you deliver and make sure you're compliant and make sure you're billed properly for your text messages. It's called Red Oxygen. But another thing is you might want to reach out to your local representatives. We need to build momentum, bipartisan momentum around this. One is awareness that this is happening in the private sector, and this will give them credence. So the two senators I've spoken with was Senator Klobuchar and Senator Mastro from Nevada. They were unaware that this was happening because we need to make sure people are held accountable for what they sell to the public, and whether it's on a social media platform or text messaging, the platform needs to be held accountable who has the cash, as well as the author and the originator of this. The few meetings that I've had, most were unaware, but were enlightened the fact that we do have this happening in the private sector. So that's a good thing, right? But we need to get the FCC involved. So contact your local representative, state, Senate. And also another problem is you're seeing some legislation pop up at the local level. We really need this to be a federal decision. We don't want compliance issues different for Florida versus Oregon. We want a national policy from the FCC.
And that really isn't practical anyways. The way mobility works itself belies the issue of, I don't know how you would do it state by state.
Well, it's happening. It's happening, and the carriers are all different. We really need federal regulation, and one of the problems we're going to run up against is a lot of these politicians are raising money via text messaging. So they kind of want to keep it the Wild West because they make more money off of it. So, it's a conflict of interest. So the only way we do this is really through grassroots.
Are there resources on the Red Oxygen website where people can go to learn more?
Sure. We've got a whole section on the campaign registry or 10-digit long code. This doesn't apply to short codes, 10-digit long code. There's a lot of resources on our blog, and we're happy to send out what we're working on. And yeah, please log on to redoxygen.com.
So, Tommy, as we wrap up and thank you for joining us with this three-part series, Making People Aware, can they also engage you personally?
Sure. I'm happy to speak at conferences. I'm happy to educate your board, whatever you need to be done. We can do this together. And this is important if we're going to save the Western world. We have to clean up the town square and remove the hoods and cloaks. If you're going to say something, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't say, but I want you to be held accountable for what you're saying, as well as the platform that's delivering it. So you can reach me at tom@redoxygen.com or go to redoxygen.com and fill out a form.
Tommy, again, I want to thank you for joining me on this three-part series. I sure hope we get to see you at some events coming up. But for now,
Me
thank you
too.
very much indeed, and let's talk again soon.
Thanks, Doug.